Well, 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 well. I guess the Cowboys really don't want to go to the Super Bowl this year.
We know that there was an opening at the fraudulent motel, but I didn't think the Cowboys wanted to jump in there so soon.
Um, so that one, the way this kind of falls off is Dallas. Dallas did wind up clinching a playoff berth,
Hmm.
but they, that was only via losses by other teams. I guess maybe they just decided, hey, we don't have to do this. Let's just take this one off.
I had thought that Dallas would have said, "All right, we clinched, but we need to make a statement." America's game. You know what? They need to change the title because America's games of America sucked. They've been horrible. So let's whatever. I All of a sudden Dallas can't stop the run. I guess that's how you beat Dallas. Just run the ball because Dallas can stop the pass, no problem. But I guess when you want to run the ball, that's the way to go because they made James Cook look like a Pro Bowler.
And yeah, and the funniest part about that is the fact that James Cook hasn't he hasn't looked like a professional in 2 years.
You don't know what he does. Like you're like James Cook, you're like, good lord, here we go. And you're just by halftime, he's an afterthought. Not today. That man had more yards than I think Dallas had altogether.
Yeah, actually, at one point he definitely did.
Yeah, I think by over 100.
Yeah,
He eclipsed him by over 100. So it was just Dallas didn't know what to do. Like if you watch that game, that defense just looked like they looked like a deer in headlights.
what do you think? What do you think is worse? The this loss to the Bills, where I mean, this is. I mean, we have fun kicking around the Bills a lot, obviously, but there's still this still at the end of the day still a talented team. What looks worse? This one where they go in, don't take it seriously, kind of take the game off, or that Arizona game way back when, where they had injuries up the wazoo, and they just and and they just could not get anything right. But to Arizona, who is obviously a far stretch from what Buffalo is, or Buffalo at least Buffalo should be.
uh, it just boggles the mind. It was like Buffalo woke up today and said, "Hey, we're playing somebody good. Let's play." And then Dallas said, "Meh, it's all right. It's cool. We're in. Let's just let it ride." Um, it's tough. It really is. Dallas needs to clean it up real quick. I think you don't want to say it's a blip, but this doesn't look good. It's like Buffalo, was almost an afterthought. I think they probably overlooked Buffalo a little bit, let's be honest. And no team has run on Dallas like this year, really. So I think maybe Dallas just wasn't prepared for it. So I think, Dallas licks the wounds and has to kind of, look back and say, all right, let's learn to stop the run game because we've got cornerbacks, we've got an elite secondary, we're good. We got to learn to stop the run. Now, maybe they don't have the athletes for it because they looked really bad. Like I said, James Cook looked like a Pro Bowler running up and down the field like nobody's business. Um, Buffalo didn't really have to throw the ball unless they had to. It was basically we're going to run, 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 and just see what happens. So kudos to Buffalo. Now they've got 3 more games where they've got to win out. So the gauntlet's been laid. This may have been the hardest of
And
their remaining schedule.
and with Dallas, they with their run defense, I guess their numbers against them aren't that great this year, but they probably look better than they are because they're always playing with a lead. So of course the opponent's going to be pass, 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 pass. So
Exactly.
maybe like a bit of a wake up call there.
Hopefully for their case, because if not, in the playoffs, the first round's a team that's a run first team, they could be in some trouble.
Yeah. And the other side of this, of course, with the Bills. I mean, I guess I know we don't like to take our hats off to them very often, we can't make the fraudulent yell this week. Uh,
No, 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 I can't. I'll give them credit. They handled business. I'll give them credit. But now next week are they going to choke this away? Are they just was it a flash in the pan, or is this the beginning of the march? Because they still have a lot of work to do and need a lot of help to get to the playoffs.
yeah. Speaking of that help to get to the playoffs, they now find themselves tied in ninth place, but effectively tied with Houston. They lose the tiebreak on the conference record, and that game, that between those two, I mean, that now you're looking like they almost kind of, if Houston can slip up again, they might have a better shot to overtake Houston, only because Houston without C.J. Stroud now for who knows how long, maybe the rest of the season.
You want to try to count Houston out, but especially after today, they gutted out a win. These guys, that defense is solid. We're gonna have to find out and see how bad the concussion situation is with CJ. Maybe if he's back by midweek this week, then I'm gonna assume he's playing. So this team knows that they've got a chance at the playoffs. They're good. They played smart. They played hard today. So I don't think you can count Houston out. I think they are a bona fide contender for a playoff spot. We try to say, oh, well, they're young, and if they slip up, then, this is it. It was a great run. Good job. Next year's your year. Like we've tried to do that.
Yeah.
But no, they're legitimate, and they're going to fight to the end for a playoff spot. So
Yeah, I think we went over the schedules in the pregame show. They end the season with us, with Indianapolis, and we're of course hanging on to that seventh spot right now. And currently, we have the tiebreak over them, but obviously they're going to want to nullify that tiebreak in a big way if they can.
Wow! Imagine if it comes down to it, Week 18.
I don't want to do that because I suffered enough heartbreak when the Jags took away our playoff berth when we had everything in our control with Carson Wentz here. I do not want to lose the playoff berth in the final week again to a division rival.
How do you know you're going to lose it, man? Uncle Rico could light it up, man. Come on now, Uncle Rico had a great game the other day. You can't assume you're going to lose. You got to go in positive.
I like what he's doing this year, but I still have to temper my expectations with a backup.
At least you would be in it in Week 18. You could be Carolina, who's out of it by, let's be realistic, Week 6, Week 7.
So speaking of the Texans game, we're gonna jump around some updates from wildcard hopefuls. We'll start off with the Browns, who are really the number one wildcard team right now, save for of course the loser of the NFC East. And they caught a tough one today. The Bears came ready to play. They got up to a 17-7 lead. They got 3 turnovers off of them. At least 2 of them were picks by Flacco, maybe all 3, but at least 2 of them. And entering the fourth quarter, it was looking pretty bleak for the Browns, but they rallied off a nice little comeback, caught back, tied it. Justin Fields looked absolutely miserable. I mean, the only reason they had 17 points in this game is because the defense scored 2 touchdowns.
It was that, and he had guys who just couldn't catch the ball. Like he did overthrow some guys. Like he did have a rough day, but there were some balls that should have been caught. So I think this is just and we've talked about the Bears and what their future lies. So this is probably just Justin playing it out and wherever he'll be next year. But they had a chance, especially at the end of the game. They had the Hail Mary, and Mooney just can't catch anything. Or no, Mooney's horrible. I'm sorry. Ball hits you in the chest, you got to catch that. You have to catch that. Like you have to. So Bears put up the effort, but Cleveland survives, and it's behind Joe Cool himself, Joe Flacco.
Old man Joe. Actually, he's my age, but he looks a lot older than I do.
So now, real quick though, do you think if it's not Flacco, if it's Deshaun Watson playing this game, they win?
I mean, this is always one of those weird discussions where it's like, do you judge the players on what you see on paper and what their skill set, their raw skill sets are, or do you judge them based off what you see with your own two eyes?
Well, from what you've seen, honestly, it'd have to be from what we've seen this year because
Yeah,
Deshaun has not been the Deshaun of old.
yeah,
And
and
Flacco just got off the couch, having a sub from Subway and a soda, and now he's playing and throwing for 300 yards like it's nobody's business.
yeah, and not, reading off of a playbook that wasn't even his. He doesn't know his butt from his elbow with this
No.
playbook.
And he's literally, and there's some points where he's almost scrambling around making plays. So, you kind of have to think maybe Flacco might have been a nice piece.
And I mean, do you think I'll bring up their schedule like, with this now? I think I believe this was their ninth win, and
Mm-hmm.
do you think this kind of more, for all intents and purposes, solidifies their standing? They're going to hold on to that 5 seed.
Right now, today, I'd say yes. I think they've got a capable quarterback. Who's he's still getting into game shape. Like you said, where he's still learning the playbook. He's still learning to play with these guys. But it's like teaching an old dog new tricks. You're just giving them a different playbook. But Joe's been there. Joe's been to the mountaintop. He knows how to win. He's won. So I think these guys have really gravitated towards him and believe in him. So right now, yeah, I think barring a massive collapse, they very well are the 5 seed.
And I think they're going to need his experience because their next game is against Houston, who's, like we just said, is fighting for their playoff lives. The game after that is the Jets. Another wonderful Amazon Prime matchup, might I add.
My gosh, man. Oh, Lord. The only reason I watch it is for Andrew Whitworth. I swear, man. I think that man is smooth and cool. That's the only reason I watch Thursday nights because the games are ridiculous. I can't.
The hoodie and blazer combos growing.
But he makes it clean. He make him and Sherm and Fitzmagic are there, man. You look at that left side of the table and you're just like, Tony, go home. Just go home, Tony. Anyways.
And so they have that game, and then the final game is in Cincinnati. So obviously, not only is that against a comparable wild card competition, but at the same time, that in theory that could help decide who's going to get that 5 seed.
No.
So they don't. I can't say they have the easiest schedule.
It's a winnable schedule, though. It
Yeah.
is a winnable schedule. I think the Cincinnati game is the game that I think that is the most that's gonna handle the season for them. It's that Cincinnati game. I think they can handle the Texans. Now, mind you, like I said, the Texans are good, and I think they can make that push. But Cleveland's got talent. Cleveland has more talent than Tennessee has. So I think it's gonna be a great game, but I think Cleveland can win that game.
Yeah, certainly, and they certainly have a better defense. So if Cleveland's up has a halftime lead on Tennessee, it's not going to be quite as easy to come back.
No, not at all.
Speaking of which, let's get into that comeback. Texans were down 13-3 at halftime. They crawled their way back in. I guess Case Keenum still got a little life left in his arm. They hang on for the overtime winner in field goal, and I actually caught the end of this game on the radio. On Sirius running a quick errand, and those guys, they said, we win over the old Houston's. Take those jerseys and throw them back in the truck. So I guess the Texans media and Texans faithful had a little bit of extra grind in this one to make the artist formerly known as the Oilers zip their lips a bit.
It was great to see the Oiler jerseys and everything like that. Definitely cool. The Texans gutted it out. You got to give them credit. That overtime was insane. It was like a sack fest. Like no one could get any kind of momentum offensively. But the Texans did what they needed to do. Got the ball, and bam, there you go.
We did already discuss the Cowboys, but I did want to throw that one up.
Yeah, the Cowboys. I gave them a shot. I tried to ride with them, and lo and behold, yep, there you go. Fraudulent Bills finally put up a quality victory, and that's all I got. Shame, shame.
Shame, shame.
Couldn't stop it.
Shame.
Couldn't stop James Cook. Couldn't stop a nosebleed.
That's right. But James Cook kind of is a nosebleed these days, I guess, or at least up until this game.
Or you know what? This was Buffalo's Super Bowl. Maybe that was their atonement for back in the '90s when they got shellacked.
Yeah. So back to the wild card discussions. There's one more to talk about, and that's on the NFC side. This one really wasn't a comeback because the Rams were up 20-3 through three quarters. They kind of let Washington get back in a little bit, but they still managed to hold on. Kyron went off for 150 plus yards on the ground, scored a touchdown. Cooper Kupp over 100 yards in the air. He got a touchdown. So the Rams are keeping pace. They're in 8th right now. The bottom of the NFC wild card is a little bit of a mess. To the point where everyone that we thought looked good keeps losing and getting in these sub 500 teams back in the mix. We're kind of like, okay, this is going to be tough for Seattle. This is going to be tough for the Rams. This is going to be tough for Green Bay. And all of a sudden, like, everyone that was up loses and everyone that was down keeps winning. So it's kind of back to not having any kind of clear vision of.
But that's the fun part of it all, because there could be that one team that just catches that momentum. I don't know. Like you said, Green Bay loses today. The Rams are sticking around. Like it's gonna be a situation where a team just catches momentum and rides it in and snags that final spot. Everyone's paid the bar. Like I said, everyone's paid the bouncer. These guys are hanging around. They want to get in. Their girlfriends are already in the club. They're trying to get in there before someone starts hitting on them. So it's crazy. It really is. You can't without a definitive answer say, all right, these are the 7. You really can't. You could say 3, possibly 4, meaning the division winners so far. After that, it's every week's a new 3 getting in and out. I don't know.
And in the NFC, that 4 is effectively 5 because the NFC East, the top of the NFC East is so good.
That's right. The NFC South, that great division right there. That's bringing winners. Bringing winners.
Well, speaking of that is our next topic. Status quo at the top. Nothing changed, and you can have You can have your moment to bask in the glory. You can run off the stats if you want, because Baker Mayfield lit up that Packers defense.
For all of those who have doubted the man known as Baker Mayfield, 158.3 passer rating, 4 tutties, 381 yards. The man was incredible today. Baker Mayfield, I'm telling you, the man, when he's on, he's great. And I know there's some times when Baker tries to make a little bit too much, tries to do a little too much, but Baker played within the framework yet again, able to move the ball on the ground. Chris Godwin showed up, had over 100 yards. Keefe, remember the name? Keefe had a touchdown. No one knows who Keefe is unless you're a Bucks fan, so it's okay. Look him up. Nutmeg was a little surprised. He texted me and said, who?
Yeah.
He was like, who? He was like, who?
He looks like a professional. He looks like a professional wrestler. I'm thinking you might have to help me out the name because you're more of a wrestler.
He almost looked like Hacksaw Jim Duggan in a weird way. Him and Cody Mauch there, number 69 on the line. They look like they could be possible brothers, but you know what? At the end of the day, Bucks handled business, able to put up some points, and like Nutmeg say, it's status quo in the NFC South. I would like to thank the Carolina Panthers, though.
Yes, that is our next topic, because the last couple of weeks we've been discussing this 3-way tie of mediocrity.
That's right. Baker is gold. That's right. Respect to the Baker man. Baker Pay. Thank you. Someone paying that man respect.
And so this 3-way tie now comes down to a 2-way tie. For as it currently stands, because the Falcons did drop this low-scoring, very, very ugly game against Carolina, and I really think Arthur Smith just hates fantasy football because he will not because you see Bijan Robinson get handle, and then they get down to the goal line and Bijan Robinson doesn't see the ball. And you know what? It's kind of almost hurting. Their playoff chances. His inability to use Bijan Robinson.
It's ridiculous what's going on there, and that's right. Godwin's getting those points, man. Finally, waking up, getting Godwin the ball. All right. Honestly, I think you got to move on from Ritter. You really do. I honestly believe the guy's put in the work. I have nothing but respect for him, but he's not the quarterback for this team. You need to find yourself somebody solid. I don't know if you want to go free agent. You might have to, but you need someone who can make better decisions. That team has too much offense, too much talent to fall 7-9. It just makes no sense. Arthur Smith, yeah, I don't think they're going to fire him, but I do think next year if they start out 1-3, 1-4, yeah, he's gone. He has to make the playoffs to keep his job next year.
Real quick before we keep it going, I'm going to pop this one up. This is in regards to Baker Mayfield.
I saw Baker his rookie year. He came to Tampa, and I saw him play the Bucks. And I liked Baker. You know what it is? His attitude rubbed some people the wrong way in Cleveland, and unfortunately, they chose OBJ over Baker, and we saw how that turned out. Baker's got talent. He just needed to be in the right program and the right system, and Tampa very well could be it. There's questions about the coaching staff now. If we make the playoffs and such, people still feel Todd Bowles is on the hot seat, but Baker's got weapons. Baker, I think, is matured, and the guy can sling it. So I'll ride with the guy. I'm riding with Baker till the end. If he leaves, I'll be upset. I will be upset, but I will still root for that man because the man, he's got heart. He's the only quarterback I see head-butting offensive linemen, on the sidelines after a great play. The guy just has it, man.
So back to the third part of the NFC South jumbled mess as it's been a bit of late, and that is the Saints. Now I know you were hoping that Tommy Cutlets would take care of business and cook around some Saints, but the Saints were the ones did the cooking and ran the Giants out of the building.
Yeah, Carr had one good game. Okay, hooray, hurrah. I was hoping that Tommy Cutlets was going to have, this would have been his signature game. Because, I'm not going to lie, the Tommy Cutlets phenomenon interests me a little bit. It's interesting, So I was hoping there would have been something there, but, let's be honest, the Saints on paper do have some talent. Though I don't know who Keith Cookwood is, whoever caught that touchdown in the Saints game, Keith Cookwood or something. I have no idea who he is, but hey, whatever. But like we've said about the Saints, preseason everyone was like, "Oh, this is it. They're gonna run this division." And they basically wrote it in pen that they had the NFC South, and this team is at best. But they should have beat the Giants, and they did. So now they've just got to continue to win. But they're so up and down, they're not consistent at all.
Yeah, and the division decision could still hold true between them in a couple weeks. You can hold serve against Jacksonville. Then you get the Saints up. Then in New Orleans before you wrap up the season with Carolina. So that game against New Orleans very much could decide who wins this division.
Yeah, like I said, when it comes to Jacksonville, you don't know what Jacksonville team you're going to get. I think, however tonight's game goes, will go a long way into seeing what Jacksonville's going to be like. So if you were going to ask me if I had to take a loss against Jacksonville next week, but I knew I was going to win the next two division games, then I'll take that because that's going to wrap up the division. So it's in our hands. We just have to do what we got to do. But that's the NFC South at its finest.
Lou and Sarah, I am well aware. I am just in a temporary remote studio, so to speak, for a little bit. So soon.
Thank you. I've got to change some stuff up. I was going to hang an Antonio Brown jersey up. just for fun, you know. But yeah, so the NFC South is what it is. It's gonna go down to the last probably week 18. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping maybe wrap it up by 17. But hey, we don't do things easy in Tampa. We
No.
just don't. We don't. We don't.
Well, speaking of easy,
Mm-hmm.
Easley's a town. Speaking of easy, there's
Mm-hmm.
some games to discuss, referring to the top of each conference standings, each playoff conference standing right now, and one, of course, I know if they're still watching, they'll love the first one because that is the Miami Dolphins, and they blanked the Jets 30-0. They kept it close with the Ravens. They got that matchup in a couple weeks
Mm-hmm.
to probably effectively decide who gets home field advantage in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
So Waddle just completely went off in this one. They beat the
Yeah.
Jets. This is what the Dolphins do this year. They've been whooping up on the lesser competition, and then it's a bit of a different story with their actual
Mm-hmm.
close competition. But I mean, again, don't want to take anything away from them. Do have to tip your hat off. They did what they're supposed to do, and they looked dominant doing it.
The offense clicked. Tyreek was out with the ankle. They probably should have sat him last week, but heat of the moment, you keep them in play. So they were able to, sit him out today. Waddle, everyone knew Waddle has talent. Waddle really could be, a number one on a lot of teams. So he's the 1B on this team. So they were able to, run the ball and be able to score against a really bad Jets team. Uh,
I mean, if
like you said,
Tyreek was out there in this one, they would have probably scored 50.
yeah, exactly. The MILF Hunter gets knocked out of the game. And so at that point, you had Trevor Simeon in there limping around doing whatever Trevor Simeon's been doing for the last year or so. And so the question more for the Jets, I think at this point closes the door on Aaron Rodgers coming back this year. There's no reason for it. They're not making the playoffs. It's over. So just prepare for next year. Miami, yep, needed needed the win. They've got to win out too. They really need to win out. I think to really have a shot at that number one seed, they have to.
Yeah. Now, one team that I guess technically is still in the mix, although I don't think either one of us really think they will stand a chance to get it, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Sorry.
Now,
Apologize.
they still won today. So again, going back to the usual theme: tip your cat, tip your hat. Can't take it away from them. Uh, and but they played the Patriots. They only won by 10. You're playing the Chiefs are playing the Patriots. You need to win by more than 10, especially this Patriots team.
Yeah, we texted this. If this was Kansas City of a couple of years ago, they would have won by 20, 25 easy. So yet again, the offensive woes, and let's be honest, they're offensive woes. Kansas City is not the offensive juggernaut that they once were. Not at all. They can win, they can tough out victories. They've got that ability. But yeah, they should have blown New England out. But they won. I don't feel they have a shot at the one. I really don't. I honestly believe, barring a real breakdown, I think Baltimore is the number one. I think Miami's the number two, and Kansas City can fall in at the three if they want. They're not all of the games are going through Arrowhead. I'm sorry to tell you, the AFC Championship will not go through Arrowhead. Just not going to happen this year. But the Chiefs really need to figure out the wide receiver game. It's really bad. There was a lot of weird trickery today, a lot of short underneath passing, nothing great. They're they don't look good to me. So, but like you said, they won. Give them credit. You beat a New England team that's probably near the number one pick this year. So they're going to win something. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Carolina pulls off a couple more upsets. The Chicago's not going to get that number one pick, and maybe Bill Belichick if he's even still there, we'll take his next quarterback.
Chicago's calling the Panthers saying, come on, man. Okay, that was great. You won today. Let's just finish off the year on a sour note. Let's just let it happen. But yeah, that's what it's going to be. And I think a big part of that is whether Belichick is there or not, because then you're going to really find out what that pick is, because they haven't had a pick this high in how long? This is a franchise changing pick. 1 through 5, you're changing a franchise with it.
Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse.
Yeah. If I'm Bob Kraft, I'm telling Bill, if you're keeping Bill, you tell him you have no say. You sit there with your whiteboard, draw up your X's and O's. You will not have a say in this pick whatsoever. So
right.
It'll be interesting, but like you said, Kansas City won. Okay.
Now we've got Dang Bang Niners gang jumping around all over the comments, so I guess we should probably start talking about the Niners a little bit. Now, this is another one. We're playing the Cardinals. Cardinals are down on their luck, and
down on their luck. Shouldn't have traded Josh Dobbs. That's their problem.
So took care of business, did what you're supposed to do, but man, did CMC. I'm like, wasn't it a few weeks ago we thought CMC was hurt and we were all taking a collective gasp for air, like, oh no, here we go again? I don't think the man's hurt.
No, not at all. And they're peaking at the right time. After they went through that little lull where we were sitting there guessing, well, are these Niners real? Are the Eagles the team to beat? No, the Niners are legit. Brock Purdy, he's going to be in the MVP conversation. Got to give him his respects. And they just keep doing what they're doing, and they've already clinched a playoff spot. They're living life. They're just going to be prepared for the playoffs, and they're going to be tough.
Yeah, actually, I did get an update on my phone this evening that said that Brock Purdy is actually the leading contender right now, the odds-on favorite for the MVP.
It wouldn't surprise me. Now, everyone's going to sit there and say, well, he's a game manager with all that talent. He should. It's not your fault. You're playing on a team and you have that talent. That doesn't mean you're not a good quarterback. That means, wow, you're lucky you've got that talent. No one was saying that when, Mahomes had Tyreek. Well, Mahomes, he's got Tyreek. He's not really that good. Brock Purdy puts the ball where it needs to go. He's smart. He doesn't make stupid mistakes. That's what you want your quarterback to be. If the man can put up numbers and he's got the weapons around him, hey, you're the MVP, man. It is what it is.
Yeah. Now, how do you think these the Niners stack up right now at the top of the NFC? They are still currently obviously holding serve today. They maintain that number 1 seed. Dallas, for the time being, falls back out of 2, pending Monday's matchup with Philly's game on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lions, of course, won Saturday, so they're maintaining pace too. And Dallas and Detroit both have 10 wins going into their matchup next week. So
the Niners are the class of the NFC. Let's be honest. The Eagles have their problems. Dallas all of a sudden shows they can't stop a nosebleed, aka James Cook. And the Lions are good, but I don't trust them 100%. But no, the Niners are the most complete team in the NFC, offensively and defensively. So, teams had their chance when the Niners went on that, bit of a losing streak there, beginning of the year. But they've got it all together, and as long as everyone stays healthy, they're the team to beat. That's just what it is. They're the team to beat in the NFC.
Yeah. Speaking of Dallas, I noticed that it's not showing up on our video, but we did get a comment on Rumble, and I'll read it off. This is relating to Dallas. Bills fans be like they finally won something, but Dallas didn't even give them the time of day. We all know this is going to show up to this one, and before your friends who are Bills fans start rubbing in your face, remind them that the Bills are the only professional sports team in the world who have ever played in 4 straight championship games and lost all of them. Blah, ha, ha, ha.
Wow. Bravo. I love the comment. But like I said at the beginning of the show, this was Buffalo. This might have been Buffalo's Super Bowl. You got to get Buffalo's struggling to figure it all out. We've talked about this. That's why they have the key to the fraudulent motel. They're leading the charge, and you got to give them credit. They beat the Cowboys. Got to give them credit. But yeah, if you're a Buffalo fan, calm it down because you still have a lot of work to do, and you need a lot of other people to help you out.
Yes.
Because if you somehow make it into the playoffs, don't think all of a sudden you're scary and no one wants to play you. People are still looking at you saying, yeah, we want Buffalo. We'll play them.
Yeah.
So that is great. Someone's just digging. 4 straight, no wins. Wow. Woo.
So back to the AFC now. I mean, we know the Bills they're fighting with Texans right now. Indy's ahead of them, Cincy's ahead of them, Cleveland's ahead of them. And if Jacksonville loses this game, kicking off mere moments from now against the Ravens, Jacksonville could be fighting them too. So we talked about this in the pregame show. That's how much pressure is on Jacksonville not to get scraped tonight by the Baltimore, or even lose. Not even get scraped. The Mariners, regardless of how they lose, I mean, they just can't lose.
There's a lot of pressure. Like, don't forget, we basically anointed them the division winner, and we said that they were ready to take that next step into the elite of the AFC. We said, Kansas City. We did have Buffalo in there. We did, and now we're eating that crow slightly. When we said Jacksonville, we felt those 3 teams were like they were the cream of the crop, and Cincinnati. We felt these were the teams. And now, if you really look at how this season has gone, the AFC is nowhere near the powerhouse we thought it was.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally fallen apart because everyone was like, wow, you get 12 or 13 teams that are playoff worthy in the AFC. Yeah, well, now it's a hot mess. The NFC looks a lot stronger than we thought it would. So Jacksonville needs to win out and make some friends and hope that those friends help them out. Because if they lose tonight, no, at this point, they're going to start to look at this team and say, okay, well, what went wrong? You came back in the playoffs, beat the Chargers. You were on this projection for elite greatness here, and now you're stumbling. What's the problem? Yeah, you've had some injuries here and there, but it's nothing serious. You still have talent. And you should be able to perform. So what is the problem here? So they need to beat Baltimore. They need it. They need this game to, I think, for a mental aspect to say, you know what? Yeah, we're still that team that can win this, that can win it all. If Baltimore goes in and hands it to them, that division is going to be quite interesting to finish up.
And conversely, how much is on the line for Baltimore? I mean, obviously, they've got a little bit more of a breathing room, not breathing room, a room for error than the Jags do. But they lose this game, they fall back in a kind of real toss-up scenario with Miami. At least if they win this, they still maintain kind of an edge. And if Miami beats them, it's just kind of a tiebreaker situation.
Baltimore doesn't want to pull a Dallas. Because that's almost what this is in a weird way. This game almost kind of mirrors the Dallas Bills game. Let's be realistic. Dallas riding high, that the elite team that's been on fire. That's what Baltimore's been. Buffalo trying to figure it out, trying to get back on track. Kind of what we're sitting here with freaking the Jaguars. They've really fallen apart. So now, if Baltimore lets them in and wins, I think then Baltimore is going to sit there and say, okay, we had this cushion. We could have really solidified ourselves in the one spot. Got to keep it going. You've created more work for yourself. So if they smell blood in the water tonight, Baltimore's got to handle it, get it done. Jacksonville needs to play a near perfect game.
Yeah. This may be the types of Bills fans that commenter was referring to. Different platform, but If you want to know
I
what
need,
I'm referring to, scrub it back a little bit. You'll hear it.
I need that guy. I need the person who sent that comment because it was poetry. It was beautiful. But no, yeah, James Cook finally showed up.
Yeah.
We've talked about James Cook forever. Oh, Baltimore needs a running back, and James Cook finally shows up, and hey, that's great. Dallas needs to be able to stop the run. If this is a true problem and it's been masked, now teams with a run game, especially come playoff time, are going to say, all right, we're playing Dallas. They can't stop the run. Let's do what we need to do. We don't need a quarterback to throw for 300 yards. If he throws for 210, but can get the run game and scramble himself, you got a chance to beat Dallas.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think about tonight's game before we say good night for a little bit?
Wow.
Is it close? Is it a blowout? Who wins?
I don't think it's a blowout. I think Baltimore does handle business. I think it'll probably be close through the first half, and then I feel Baltimore just takes control. Lamar does Lamar things. Gus the Bus start running the ball. I think they're going to try to tire out that defense. They do have athletic linebackers that can run end to end. They've got talent, but I just feel that Baltimore's got too much speed for them, and you got a healthy Lamar Jackson. So I think all bets are off. I'm taking Baltimore.
Margin of victory more or less than 10 points.
Yeah. What's the line on that game?
Oh, I'll find out.
You find out.
My gut reaction would be 8.
8.
Find out.
Ooh, 8.
Oh
really?
no, I'm way off. 3.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say 8's a lot. They're in Baltimore, right?
No, they're in Jacksonville.
Oh, they're in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think they could win by more than 3. Yeah, I'm thinking. A touchdown.
I mean, really, because of that, Baltimore 3.5, and it's in Jacksonville. That means it's really like a touchdown spread.
Yeah.
You give 3 points to the home team, so that really makes it more like a 7. I mean, it really makes it more like a 7-point line. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Baltimore will win by a tutty. I'd give them that for sure.
Yeah. Well, if you like this show, catch everything we just talked about. Plus, we'll wrap up tonight's game and talk a little bit about Eagles Seahawks on Monday night, and catch that bright and early Monday morning on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Bucks McGee, this was a bit of an eventful Week 15. The final word is yours, sir. Take us off air.
All right, Week 15. First of all, yet again, Baker Mayfield. Bow down to the greatness, everybody. At least for 1 week, Baker was the best of the lot. Buffalo fans, you did something this week. Congratulations. But yet again, calm it down. Dallas, figure it out quick. It's been a great Week 15. We're going to have this game. Niners, yes, the Niners are the elite. Y'all continue to do what you do. Everyone enjoyed tonight's game. Nutmeg, as always, nothing but fun.